If you're a woman and you're driving, your PSI is low, meaning your tire pressure is low. Most cars now will tell you what your tire pressure is on the digital screen. So obviously, not obviously, but you would know when your tire pressure is low. Every car has a pressure amount, I guess, minus 35. So during the colder months, for those of you who live in the colder areas, right now it's getting colder. Yeah, don't forget to look at your tire pressure and make sure that it's there, because in colder months your pressure tends to go down. This is just for women. Men probably know this, and if you have a man that takes care of your car, then you're lucky. But I think even if you have a man that takes care of your car needs, like gas, putting gas into it, like, you know, checking your tire pressure, it's still good for you to know this information. But yeah, in colder months, your tire pressure goes down. Make sure it just goes to a certain level, up to the level that your car needs or your tire needs, minus 35. And also for those of you who live in like an area where it snows a lot, snow tires, usually this is when people switch out their snow tires. But this is for my women who, you know, take care of their own car. Just so you know, I'm sure if you do take care of your own car, you should know this. But sometimes people, you know, you think, knowledge is known, but sometimes it's not. So I learn from videos like this, and I hope I'm teaching you, even though it may seem as common, as like simple as whatever, but it's still good information to own. So I am basically cooking for my mom. So my mom is, how do I say this? I usually supply her foods, her cooked foods. So I batch cook for about 2 to 3 months for a single person, right? So 2 to 3, my mom is a widow. So for 2 to 3 months of food supply, I usually cook that, and then I drop it off on my mom, so she has like prepared foods to eat. She made requests for, like, you know, we're Nigerian, so this ofe is the soups. Ofe is Igbo for soup, but the ofe nubo, the ofe egusi, the ofe abana, the ofe okra. So she made like those requests, so I'm gonna make those. And then obviously, like, you know, in a typical Nigerian home, you will find batches of stew. Stew is very important in a Nigerian household. As we eat stew with rice, we can eat stew with yam, stew with beans, stew for jollof, stew for everything. We could put stew in our eggs. So stew is like our Korean, you know, in Korean dishes, you have that spice. What is it called? I'm trying to give an example of something that's like basically like a base that people use for foods. But like stew is like a base for a lot of stuff. So there's stew, and then I have to make spaghetti sauce for her, and then make like other stuff, meat pies, and all the stuff that she can just grab and eat and go. I've learned a lot from taking care of like an elderly person. It's like, I think for an adult, taking care of their parents who are like, you know, you're so used to your parents just being in charge and just telling you what to do, and, you know, having the answers to everything and coming to your aid to solve issues. To now have them revert to that like baby stage where you feel like you have to take care and tell them everything, it's still hard to adjust to that mindset. Me being, because my mom's not close to, she lives in a different state, so me being a little bit further away from her, I would love to be much more closer to her, but you know, in life you don't always get what you don't, I guess the way you plan life out for, like, it doesn't always happen that way. But I would love to be closer to her, because I feel like if I were closer to her, I think understanding the elderly more would make more sense. I'll probably not struggle with the fact that she is older and she's not the person that she was before. I think that is the difficult part about taking care of your parents. I wanted to cry, but I'm gonna hold my tears. Okay, That is a difficult part about taking care of your parents, because to see that switch, to see them go from, being a robust adult, right, to not being retired and turning into like a child, right? That's essentially a child. So I do have help siblings, or kind of helping with different aspect of things. What I do notice is that when difference between girl and boys, they say this, but it doesn't really make sense until you get into adulthood and you see this play out. But they say this: a girl child and a boy child. The difference between a boy and a girl child: the girl child will be there for you in old age, most likely. I mean, this is on average. We're not talking about this is a norm. This is just an average. I'm gonna clean my tears because I'm about to go in. I don't want to be crying. So they say this: a girl child will be there for you, like, in your old age, right? Taking care of you, doing all that motherly stuff. And the boy child tends to focus more on their, like, they're more selfish. They tend to focus on their own needs. And if they are married with kids, they tend to focus on their own marriage and kids. And tend to not look back, right, on the parents, on the elderly parents. Now, we're not talking about, I guess for me, I'm not talking about overall. It's just on average, right? You get some men who actually go back home, who actually live with their parents, who actually take care of their parents, and that's, when you see that, that's kind of rare. I have one friend's husband who does that, whose mom actually lives in their house, and he takes her to appointment. He does everything for her, but he is the oldest son. He is the first son, so he has that responsibility. So I find that there are cases where you find men helping their elderly parents, but on average, yes, it falls on the girls. So that to say, my mindset, trying to wrap my mind around the fact that my mom is like a child, still has not registered. It registered, but it's like 85% registered in my mind, but the other 15%, I'm still like, she's capable. Like, use your mind. If you don't use it, you lose it. But I don't know what it means to be an elderly woman, so I'm speaking from a perspective, a young mind's perspective, right, versus an elderly mind's perspective. So sometimes I get annoyed, sometimes I lose my patience, because I'm thinking like, okay, this is simple. She's older. Her brain is receiving information slowly, and it's also like, it's not that fast, and her brain doesn't work that fast. It takes a long time to process information. And so me trying to understand that now, I'm just like, oh. So I'm doing better than I was a year ago, but it's still a work in progress. So I say all that to say, I'm in charge of food. One of my siblings are in charge of health. So what I find is that as your parents age, if you have siblings, thank God. I believe that every sibling should have a job or role in taking care of that elderly parent. They should have a part that they play. So if my gift or my part is supplying food, and just think of my mom, thank God she doesn't have a lot of she doesn't have health issues. Thank God she only has one health issue, and that's pretty good for an elderly person, because most elderly people are taking popping medications, and so for her to just have like one that she just focuses on is amazing. So I'm also like, when I cook, so I'm like, say this to say, when I cook, I'm also thinking about her dietary needs and cooking accordingly. So I'm in charge of that. My other siblings in charge of the health related stuff, and sometimes the health related stuff falls on me too, because my sibling can't take care of every health appointment. So I do that, because cooking, I batch cook. It takes about 2, 3, 4 days batch cook, and that's over with. The health issues or the health appointment still goes on ongoing, so it's not fair to just have that stress ongoing for that sibling. So sometimes I take that. The emotional aspect of the whole, that's part of care for an elderly person, the emotional aspect of checking in every day, making sure they're okay, listening to their voice, listening to, like, okay, are they having an off day today, make recommendations what they need to do, like if you notice something a little abnormal, consulting with the siblings, trying to find, okay, did you notice this, is this, like all that emotional aspect, because there's the physical, there's the emotional aspect, you know, there's the mental aspect. Because being a caregiver mentally it could take a toll on you mentally as a caregiver, and also the person that's being taken care of sometimes don't know, I guess, the stress that comes with caretaking, so they don't know, so they're just being themselves, right? But you as a caretaker, you know how it's like, how it can break you down mentally sometimes, not emotionally, mentally, because you become you could sometimes become so drained. It could be physically, it could be mentally. You just like, you're like, sometimes you just tap out, okay, I need a break. But you then remember that this person is helpless, right? And that one day you too will get to that point. I'm a big believer in just, I follow Christ. I have a relationship with Christ, Jesus Christ. So I tend to live my life like that. Like, what would Jesus do? What would Jesus do? WWJD. We used to wear that kind of bracelet when we were young. What would Jesus do? So Jesus would take care of the helpless, the poor, you know, those who need help. Like, he would take care of them. So that's what Jesus would do. So let me just be like that. So I still this rambling to say I'm waiting for Costco open. I'm gonna go and get the Tupperware. That's what I'm going in there for. I need to pick up something to put the food that I'm cooking in, right? So that's where I am. Just wanted to ramble. This is so therapeutic. This is kind of like my journal sometimes, but yeah, hopefully you gain something out of this. And if you're a caretaker, pat yourself on the back. I like to do that. Pat yourself on the back. You're doing good. It's not easy, especially I think people around my age now are starting to take care of their elderly parents. And I don't want to put my mom ever in a nursing home. So this is going to be my life until God says it's time for her to go. But the people my age right now are like actually taking care of elderly parents. If not physically, they have them in a nursing home. They're caring for them monetarily, like in the monetary terms, they're taking care of them. So it's a lot. Pray for us caretakers. It's a lot, but you know, with God's strength and help, we'll get through this, right?